morning once again. So our last topic was on, I think that was the last aspect of JavaScript's primitive data, right? That was the last topic under primitive data types in JavaScript. So the assignment I gave to us was, what is the assignment again? Sorry, which means that our last class was not on data type, instead it was on JavaScript operators, right? And I explained to us that understanding operators across all programming languages is very, very important. Can anybody tell us what we achieve with operators in programming? What exactly do we do with the operators while programming? Any idea? So in summary, I told us that the operators are special word symbols or signs, right? That denote what? Different meaning, right? In other words, they are used to perform different what? Operations. For example, we looked at arithmetic operator. We also look at which other one? Logical what? Operators. We also look at what? Comparison what? Operators. And I said we should go and deepen our research, our knowledge on those operators. I mentioned one in particular, be it what? Wise, right? That should go and research on it. Okay, so I believe we must have done that because the day is coming soon where we will conduct our tests to make sure that you are reading and you are researching, you are also practicalizing everything we are learning. It's very important. So in this section, we'll be looking at JavaScript control structure, right? JavaScript, I think I've told us to write the topic before, right? Yes. JavaScript what? Control structure, control structure. JavaScript control structure. That is our focus in this section. Right? So just in case you come across this video and you want to reach out to me, you can simply reach out to me on WhatsApp me on 234 70 66 5919. You can also call me via same number. Okay, so let's look at the definition. What is JavaScript word control structure? I want to explain to us that the concept of control structure is not only used in what? JavaScript programming. That is the reason why I advise us to take this program very serious when we started, because it's as if you are learning more than one programming what? Language. Because by the time you want to learn, let's say Python or any other programming language, you will find out that most of these things have their versions duplicated across what? All the languages. There is no programming language you will learn that you will not come across what? Control what? Structure. There is no programming language you will learn that you will not come across data types. The only differences might be the mode of what? Communicating what? Then that is the syntax. Okay. Now let's look at the definition before I break it down for us to understand. JavaScript control structures are like the traffic cops. They are like the traffic cops. They are like the traffic cops of your code. Of your code, command, directing the flow, directing the flow of execution, directing the flow of execution, directing the flow of execution. Let's attach these notes for proper understanding. These structures help you make decisions. So I will know, why do we even engage in programming control structure? I said these structures help you make decisions, comma, repeat tasks, and control the flow of your JavaScript code, and control the flow of your JavaScript code. All right. Are we together? So indirectly, there is no programming language without the control structure. Sometimes we refer to it as the backbone of programming. The backbone of programming. There is no app that is developed that do not have this section of code. I want to believe that application has an algorithm, right? That is the communication. What happened at a particular stage, followed by what, followed by what, followed by what. That is the control structure we are talking about. So it's actually the backbone of programming. Whether app development or web development, you will definitely work with the concept of what? Control structure. So let's look at the examples of them in JavaScript. The control structure in JavaScript includes one. The control structure in JavaScript include one, conditional statements. Conditional what? Statements. In brackets, we have if, we have else, we have switch. So under the conditional statements as part of JavaScript control structure, we have what? We have three of them, as you can see here: if, else, and what? Switch. We are going to look at them. So you should know how to program with all these conditional statements as a web developer. Now, the next one is loop. The next one is loop. Another example of JavaScript's control structure is what? Loop. So loop has statements like for, while, do, while. Okay. Then we also have the third one, which is most time is optional. It's called jump statements. Jump statements. So under this, we have break. Under this, we have break. We have continue. And then we have return. So the entire control structure in JavaScript can include or be simplified into what? These three aspects. So we are going to take some examples. So let's start with the conditional statements. Let's look at the attributes of the conditional statements, which is this particular line. Conditional statements. So let me use our internal JavaScript as well. These are some of the scripts we ran last time. I think let me just create a different file. Let me just make different file. So let's say, what is the topic? Condition, right? Condition. .html. Then activate your HTML basic file structure. And then since we are working with internal JavaScript, I will activate what? The script tag, and make sure that all my JavaScript code are right inside the script tag. All my HTML rendering element comes in here. Are we still together? All right, so the first one we are considering is conditional statements. Conditional statements. So how do we define conditional statements? What is conditional statements? Are we together? What is conditional statements? Can anybody help us? What is conditional statements? I think is looking at the word condition is to an extent self-explanatory. The statements is just like comment, right? The expression. When we say the expression is condition, it means that it has a true or what? False value, right? A criteria. Let's look at the definition properly, right? In JavaScript, a conditional statement is a block of code. Is a block of code. Block of code. All right? That executes. That executes. Block of code that executes based on a condition or a specific condition or set of condition. Or set of conditions. So the condition can be what? One, right? The condition can be what? Multiple. So we are going to find out what type of condition that will require what? If. What type of condition that will require what? If else, and the one that will require what? Switch. Note, it is like, okay, let's stop there. The note should be, note, if the condition is true, if the condition is true, the code follows one pattern or one path. If the condition is true, the code follows one path. And if it is false, it follows another path. If the condition is true, the code follows what? One path. If not, it follows what? Another path. So we are starting with the first one, which is what? From the list of attributes of conditional statements. How many of them did I mention? I mentioned if, right? So I'm going to start with what? If statements. So you write if statements. So we are starting with what? If statements. As part of what? JavaScript what? Conditional what? Statements. So how do we define if statement? Right. If statements used or is used to execute a block of code only if the condition is true. So it is one criteria execution what? Condition. I repeat, if statement is used to execute a block of code if a condition is true. So it does not have false value. So which means that if, for example, now in my web page, I am developing an app that should display something when the page refuses to load. What about if the page loads? There is no option for it. Or let's say what? If the page loads, JavaScript should display something to the visitor. If it doesn't load, no option. That means to remain what? Blank, because you only program what? With if statement. So let's quickly look at the example application of this example of the if statement. Remember, I said it is used for making what? One decision, apart from that definition, because it has only what? True value. So example, let's work with variable concepts. Let's say let each. I am going to give us a classwork where you will use this concept to program something different from what I am programming. So just make sure that you pay attention. So let's say let each is equals to what? 20. Now we now have if is a function. Now, what you put inside that parenthesis bracket is the expression. And the expression is what we evaluate. Is what we perform the what? The evaluation. Is what we compare whatever you are stating in that function with the what? The global variable. How many of us know that we have global variable and local variable? A variable, when we get to function, you understand that a variable that is declared within a function is what? A local what? Variable. It cannot be executed outside that function. But in this case now, this particular variable, is it declared in the function if? No. That is what? Any function can use it, right? Good. So now, we are taking that variable and say if age is, remember we talked about operator. That is the reason why I brought that topic, JavaScript operator. Because as we proceed, you will see instances where we will now be using these operators to communicate. These operators, like I told us last time, they have their own what? Literal what? Meaning. So for example, now when you say age rather is greater than or equals to, what are you trying to say here? Using your knowledge of operator. In other words, we are using two what? Different what? Expressions, right? We are using two different commands to check, right? To evaluate what is in age, right? In other words, there are two conditions here that can be met. If it is greater than 18, the true value can display. If it is also equals to what? 18, the true value can also what? Display. But if I put just one, it means that what? If it is equals to 18, the assigned value for the true will not what? Be displayed. Okay, so being a function, remember I talked about read out. Can somebody read out the definition of if? Because there is a particular word that I use there that I want to come to play now. I think I mentioned block of code, right? Now, this coiling bracket is used what? It represents what? Block of code. Whatever you write inside. In other words, is a grouping what? Notation. It's used to group. So that is why when we are done with this topic, the next topic will be JavaScript what? Functions. Before we come back to what? JavaScript what? Array and what? Objects. Okay? Because there are certain things you need to know. If we are in array now, we want to loop over the array content. If we don't understand control statements, we will not be having issue. So that's the reason why I want to settle this topic. Because having an understanding of this topic will help us to flow better when we get to JavaScript advanced data type like function and what? Objects and array. So now, what are we saying here? What do we want the function to output? If the person's age is either greater than 18 or equals to what? 18. You put it here. Now, don't forget that we have discussed JavaScript output method, right? Can anybody mention them? Because you must use one of them to display that statement. We have what? Document.what? Get element, right? That's inner what? HTML. A method that display in what? HTML, right? Or that uses HTML element as a rendering element. Now, let's go back to the HTML section. Like I explained to us the other time, my focus is going to be, I want to be using more of the one that we are going to be applying than the ones that are just for debugging of code. You know, like I explained to us, document.write is what? It's just for code debugging, right? I wish that one again. Console.what? Log is also for what? Just code debugging. So the method you are going to use often will be what? Alert and what? This very one. So let's create a HTML element, let's say P, and then with an assign ID, just to select it with the method or the function I want to use. So let's say demo1. Demo1, this is a different file. Okay, this is a different file. Are we following? So now I go back to my JavaScript section. Then what exactly do I want JavaScript to display if the condition is true? Remember that the if statement we are learning right now is what? The one that can only display your statement if it is true, right? So based on that, I can say, okay, document dot what? Dot get element by ID, then the string demo, right? Then who can tell us the meaning of this inner? What are we doing right now? What are you doing here? You are collecting this and storing it in this what? Method. So that this method can have it stored in itself. Are you with me? Now, what are you now storing there? What will the HTML element display? True. That is the statement, right? So if the person is equals to, the person's age is equals to 18 or greater than 18, what I want JavaScript to display has not been stored anywhere, right? If it has been stored somewhere, I will just reference what? The name of the variable. But in this case, I will say what? Display, you can vote. Let's say this is like INEC website, right? Where they must have placed certain criteria for individual to vote. As we all know, in Nigeria, if you are not above or equals to 18 years, you cannot vote, right? So let's say you are registering, and this app is the one that will do the assessment within their website. So as soon as you put in your age, there is a form where you are going to put your age. Once you put your age, the if statement will evaluate it and tell you whether you are qualified. Even jam, recently I was told that the certain age of persons that they don't want to take again until you are up to a certain age, you cannot register for what? Jam. So how would that be evaluated is the concept we are learning now. So let's see what I'll say. You are qualified to vote. So that is going to be the message I should get. So let's go and test run it and see if we are going to get that output. Let's evaluate the condition. So we couldn't get the output, so let's debug. So we say what? Let this, hope we are correct. My demo is what? Demo 1, right? Let me check it here. It's like I use demo 1 instead of, yes, demo 1. Okay. Demo 1. So let's check. Correct. So you are what? Qualified to vote. Now, what about if, now look at the expression here. So you know why we need S instead of what? If. Now, what you program here is that this function will evaluate the value you store here with what you specify here. This is just like the limit. Okay? Now, if the person and the operator we are using, if I change here to if the person is greater than, if the age is greater than 18, display you are qualified to vote, or if it is equals to 18, still what? Display you are qualified to vote. What about if it is less than what? Are you getting me now? If it is less than 18, of course, what we have here is not less than 18. It's greater than what? 18. What will happen? That is what you have not captured. So in programming, you don't go one way. Always give room for what? Another option. So have we all tried it? Okay, now let's quickly go for the next one, which is if-else statements. So we have seen that if is just for one criteria. So let's say, for example, now look up. If I put less than here, if I put less than here, you can see that what? It displays what? Nothing. Ordinarily, if I've added S, there will have been another message that says what? You are not what? Qualified to vote. And instead, because you program with just if, the app is blank. And the person might be thinking that it's network issue and keep waiting, or knowing that the programmer did not give alternative option. That is why we must learn how to use the if-else. So let's quickly look at the definition of if-else statement quickly. If-else statement is used to execute one block of code. If-else statement is used to execute one block of code. One block of code. If a condition is true, if a condition is true, if a condition is true, and another block if the condition is false, and another block if the condition is false, and another block if the condition is false. So you can see now we have provision for what? Two conditions. Are we still together? So let's also practicalize this. Let me use another script to avoid so here is what? If S statements. If S statement, that is for two options. For two options. For two options. So an example of this, let's is really is equals to false. So start thinking of something you will do differently from what I'm doing. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to give us classwork. So you formulate your concept yourself. Let's is reading false. Now, if is reading, code block, if is reading, sorry, if it's rainy, then I want, let me create another element to display the output. P tag ID demo 2. If it's raining, I want, it's just a minute. If it is raining, what do you get if it's raining? You get umbrella, right? So let's say what? Document dot get element by ID demo what? Demo 2 dot inner HTML equals to then get an umbrella. Get an umbrella. Get an umbrella. S, now as you can see, look up. You are inside this particular code block, right? Before you declare your S, you have to come outside. So you can either put it here or you go to the next line. So I can just say what? S. So S will come with its own word, another word, code block. Code block S. What will be displayed? So I can just copy this code, Control C. I will just edit the statement section. S do not Ed, do not, or you don't need, or do not get an umbrella. Okay, now, so the next, so let's go and check the outputs. So what do I get here? Do not get what? An umbrella. Is that correct? Are you sure it's correct? Look at what we have here. Pause. Pause. Pause means that what? That what if it's raining? We did not say what? True. Right? If it's raining, you already say what? False. If it's raining, then you should what? Get an umbrella. Now let's modify here to what? True, and see what we are going to get. Just to test the two words expressions. So if I go back to the page now, can you see it now? Now, why is it regulating automatically? Because the values we store in the variable, the global variable, is what? Boolean what? Value. That is already recognized within the program. So, class challenge. I want you to develop two different scenarios, different concepts. You formulate it, what you can do with what? The if and what? The if else. Different from what I've just formulated yourself. And then you read it out one by one when we come back. You get to do not sleep. Take time to be practicing. Look at these things from different perspectives. If possible, check other instructors, right, on this same topic that we are taking to further deepen your knowledge. It's very important when you are learning technology. You need to have different views sometime. Okay? You have questions? What is the question? Hmm? Which one to call? Does it mean that you have not been following? I just create a simple concept. Like here now, I just pick age. You can check for female and male. You just think of, okay, these concepts where I want to check for true value and false what? Value. That is very simple thing. Okay, let's proceed. I started the class earlier because I want to close before time. Now, let's look at, let's do one more example so that we can understand the concepts better, because it's a serious topic that you must be grounded at, because some of these things that we are learning will be replicated in PHP for those of us that will be following it to the back end. We have control structure. So what I'm trying to do is that I want to make sure that our background is solid here, because in PHP, there are so many things that I do paraphrase, because I don't waste the whole time explaining JavaScript in detail, and then you expect that in PHP, because most of the things are the same. So just make sure that, like I started by advising us, that what we are learning here now is applicable in other programming languages. So let's look at checking for multiple conditions instead of just two, right? Let's see how we can check for more than two conditions. Checking for multiple conditions. checking for multiple conditions. So I'll just go straight to the example because the same if-else concept we are adopting. So let's say, like somebody did, I want to use an equivalent example. Let's say score is equals to, let's say 75. And then we can say if score is greater than or equals to 80. So here we want to grade, we want to output grade. If score is equals to or greater than what 80, what should JavaScript output? So let's create an element to output, to render p tag, add an ID. Let's say demo 3. So if score is greater than or equals to 80, you should output document dot get document dot what get ID by demo what demo 3, right? Demo 3. Store the HTML elements in this method using this, and then equals to what we want it to output. It should output grade A. Should output grade A. It should output grade A. S. Else. Let me copy. Okay, S. So here now, look at it here. What we are actually using is what? Is the concept we are using here is what? If. Look at it. You know, we have what? If S, right? We have if S, we have what? If, where you want to go beyond two what? Conditions. So that is a concept we are bringing here. So here is going to be if, then you are going to open another statement. As if the score will be what? As if the score is greater than or equals to 60. Then before you declare your block, what should be outputted? Let me take this, copy it, paste. It should output grade B. It should output grade B. It should output grade B. Then you will now do S. Can you see it now? In other words, you have like two different words. You have two different true options, right? Then before the false. So this is where you now do S. That is, if any of these conditions are not met. Are you with me? That is when this one, so it's going to check for two true conditions. This is the first one, this is the second one, and then before falling back to the S code block. So S, so let me also paste this and say it should output grade C. To output grade C. So who can suggest what the output will be? Is it going to output grade B or grade C or grade A? B. If you support B, raise up your hand. Let me know. B. I want to know those that are following the class. Those that will miss it, they are not following. B, raise up your hand first. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hope you can prove it. Oh. Let me ask one of you. Oga, you raise up your hand. Can you prove it? So you can't find it. So you just raise up your hand. I just let me just try. Okay, can you prove it? Why do you say it's okay? Yeah, prove it.
He assigned
5 as our score, right?
5 is greater than or equal to 6.
Good. Not between 80.
Start on beginning.
Yeah, right?
Not greater than or equal to 80. So it's not with 8.
Okay.
Next one, it's greater than 6.
Good. It's greater than 60.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. But it's not meeting the two of them. At least one of them will be. It's meeting the greater than, but it's not meeting the what? The equals to. But here, none of them is what? Met. It's not equals to. It's not what? Greater than 80, right? Whatever here. In fact, none of them are both.
That else.
Good. Now let's go there and check. What do we have? Are we sure that I'm seeing error here? I'm seeing error. Something has not. This one, right? Yes. Because it's like that time that I opened. Good. With B. Let's clap for her. How many folks suggested the B? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know you had that because you have one. Okay, so now another classwork, class start. So formulate something like this, not this concept. So you define what you want to achieve. The last one, right? Let's go back to our notes. The last one is the switch statement, right? The last one, which is the switch statements. Switch statements is used to execute different blocks of code. Switch statement is used to execute different block of code based on different values of variables or expression. Used to execute different blocks of code based on different values of variable or expression. So let's quickly look at example also. So here is switch statement. In JS. So additional note, it is best used for many cases. In case you want to, where you have many cases, unlimited. It is best used for many cases. So for example, let's say let day equals to 3. Let day equals to 3. Then activate the switch function and is evaluating day. Calling bracket, then you define all the cases inside it. Now there is a syntax you need to understand. So I will explain it as I'm going. Because if you miss the syntax, then you are bound to get error. So I'll start by saying the case. You define your cases. Case 1. Case 1, when you want to declare your cases, you use what? Column, like this. Case 1. Then you go down. Case 1. Case 1 is just second. right? Now, take note of the syntax. Then after that, you go to the next line. Now, what do you want to output? So let's use HTML elements to display it so that everything can be unique. So ID demo what? 4. Right? So I will simply let me copy one of this code just to save my time. What will case 1 display is what I want to paste inside here. So case 1, so I'm changing here to what? Demo 4. And then what will case 1 display is Monday. Where the day correspond, it should call out what? This one should display what? Monday. So that is the first case. Then I'll go down. The next case, now after this, you have to break. You have to break so that you can check what? The next what? Case. And look at the center. This is where you put the semicolon. So after this, the next one is the case. I'm following the what? The indentation. The next one is what? Is case 2. And this is how you declare your case. And then let me copy this one. Control C. Case 2 should display another day, which could be Tuesday. Then you break, semicolon. Then get your indent. So the next one is case 3. Case 3, column, go down, then paste the same. So let's say here is Wednesday. So if you want to keep declaring till you get to Saturday, then you can. Today is what? Today is Thursday, right? So let's continue to Thursday so that you can display. Here is break. End it with the semicolon. Then return your index. Then case 4. Case 4. Then paste. Should be Thursday. Case 4 should be Thursday. Then you also break. Now, there is a default where you feel that one of the criteria we meet or one of the criteria will be met. There might not be need for you to what? To declare that default. So the default is acting as the first value, just like that S. If any of this day does not align, then that is when you bring in the default. So the default, you will just say what? Default. Just say default. 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 Default should display none of the above. None of the above. None of the above. So let's check our output. So it outputted what? Wednesday. Wednesday. Now let's evaluate it. What did we store there? 3, right? 3 is what? Third day, right? Are you with me? In a week, is 3 not Wednesday? So let's change here to 4 and see what is going to output. I'll check again. Thursday. Any question? So if there's no question, the Thursday, you just changing the number here. If I change it to 2 now, it will go to what? Tuesday. That is to tell you that what? You actually have multiple what? Options. So all these are used in programming, the control structure. So we are going to stop here, and then the next class, that is when I will round it up with what? We still have loops, right? From what I listed, we have loops. Under loops, we have a for loop, we have a while loop, we have a do what? While loop. So you can research ahead. Okay, so the next class, I will be rounding off this aspect. That will be on Tuesday, next section. So what you have to do for me as your classwork now is that you are to develop a scenario for the one you were doing before that I suspended. You can complete it and then develop switch statements. You can capture different examples. So like I said, all these have advanced dimension, which you will see when we start developing apps. But then I will no longer be wasting time to be explaining these fundamentals. So once you see switch, then you know that, oh, this is what it's doing. So if you are given a JavaScript, or maybe you derive your code from ChatGPT, and when you see structures like this, you know what they are doing.